All right, we're live. I have S on with me. My name is Ryan Steinolfson, and I'm the owner of Accelerate Marketing. And Accelerate Marketing is a digital marketing agency. It's been around for about 15 years. We've helped thousands of businesses over the last 15 years to generate another $50,000 plus in revenue per month through the optimization of their digital marketing, specifically Google local service ads, campaigns, and then also their Google business profile page. And I'm on with S, who is an AI magician and much more. So I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I'm S. Lee. I'm the owner of Messages Improved, and that's a platform where you can go in and create AI agents. It kind of demystifies all the technical pieces of developing AI. I've been doing it for about 8 years, building AI-powered, personalized communication tools. So, we always focused on, like, rather than having a different platform, how do you put AI into the channels that people already use, right? And I've partnered up with Ryan, who reached out a couple of months ago and said, "Hey, I was looking for like an AI capable of doing text messaging, and you guys come up first." And because we've been doing it for so long, we've had AIs sitting within a messaging app, and this is not a separate messaging app. It's a default app on your phone. But if we could put AI there to almost be, co-pilot, giving you insights on the other person, and now with generative AI, be able to conduct that conversation or give you a suggestion for what to say, and and easily take over that conversation. That gets really interesting, and that's why we're on today, because businesses, we think every single business out there in the next 3 years is going to have AI doing a part of their communication, whether it's whispering in their ear and suggest, like, writing a response for them, that's in context for the conversation or according to a script, or outright just have an AI employee. And that's what we're really excited to build with business owners, is your first AI employee.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's the opportunity, is really to, and I want to also clarify what S said is, or what he said is, I found him by specifically going to Google and searching for messages AI or AI messages or best messaging AI platform, and they show up at the top because what's he using? He's using messaging, or the chat functionality that we create for businesses on his website, and that is what gives him a significant advantage over his competitors, because the time on site for his website is like through the roof, because people are chatting with what is, in essence, is a real live is something that's actually communicating back to them, and like a human would, and they're getting value. They're staying, like I did. I got what I needed. I scheduled an appointment with S. I answered got the questions asked that I wanted and answered, and S was able to see that whole conversation. It was all recorded, so he could see what kind of a purchaser I am, or what I wanted. So there was all that context before the meeting, and that is what really had him qualify me much better, I think, than in any other way, like through just a form. There's not all the context of actually having a real communication with, in essence, a sentient employee for your, so to speak, an employee for your business that's trained on your business, that you only have to train one time, and that is infinitely scalable, meaning it can replace as many employees as you want. Your entire intake can be replaced. So you don't have to have an intake team anymore. If you got any questions, by the way, please ask in the comments below any of the videos for any of the channels that we're on, which is Instagram, 3 channels on YouTube, and then we're on Facebook as well. And we'll answer the questions that you have. The main things that we are seeing is we're seeing significant increases in the rankings that businesses are getting by using or leveraging the AI for voice and for messaging. What we typically do, and we're going to go over this when we have our, we're going to have a workshop every week on Wednesday, I believe at 2 Eastern. And I'll even put the link, in the comments so that you guys can go there and sign up. It's going to be a really great workshop. We can have 10 people in the room. It's going to be a webinar, and we're going to stream it live at the same time. So if you're a business owner, by the end of that call, we will have you set up with an AI agent that knows your business, that you can upload documents to, that you can then use at the end of that call or on the call and incorporate into your local service ads account, so that you don't have to even respond to message leads anymore. The AI is going to do it for you. And as a result, you're going to get more leads, sometimes even double or triple the leads, just by turning the AI on and actually taking fewer messaging leads and wasting less of your time. So you spend less time and you get more leads, and you actually will probably convert more of those, because not only probably, I'm sure that you will, because you're responding instantly. So when you're competing with other businesses, you're going to be the one that says that Google puts a little blurb down below your ad that says typically replies in minutes. So that's the goal, is to do that for all of your platforms. So once you set up an agent, you can put it everywhere. You can make it, ubiquitous across all of your platforms and your website, so that when anybody calls you, they can talk to the agent. You can give your human intake the first 20 seconds to answer, but if they don't answer, I would definitely send it over to something that's going to have a better conversation than none.
Yeah. And I think I would kind of add, more as a general comment on what the challenge has been so far with getting AI deployed for businesses, right? Working for them as an employee, is a lot of this started with ChatGPT, right? It wasn't on anybody's radar, and that it was the most successful product out there. Mm-hmm. They got to try it, and they got to think, oh, wow, if a chatbot could answer, these questions I have, could I train one, with my data to have these same conversations? And the challenge has been so far on channel. And what do I mean by channel? It's, okay, you can create a custom GPT on OpenAI's platform, but that's not a channel you currently use, right? Customers don't go on a website to interact and to get your services. If you have a telephone number, that changes everything. So what we've done is effectively take a custom version of ChatGPT that's trained on your company's information and put it on a channel that you already use or can integrate with your existing communications workflows. And that's been really the challenge, right? You have really, really advanced technology that's sitting here, but you're using, the ways you communicate with your clients right now are down here. And so how do you make that piping, right? And the piping is the hardest part, because if you think about every business, right, they have several different technology, vendor communication tools, right? And it's all different for every business. And we go, okay, well, hiring somebody to do that piping is expensive. A prompt engineer is $300,000 a year. You do that on a monthly basis, and you just say, okay, well, I'm going to hire you for a month to build out this piping to put an AI into my existing channel. And you can hire somebody. It might be a month, it might be 2 weeks, but you're still talking about tens of thousands of dollars that you're spending without a guarantee that that will be working the way you want to. That's just for building, a prompt, right? It's not all the technology that's around it. And so we spent a lot of time building that technology to make it really easy for business owners, right? Because if you say, hey, look, I just want a telephone number. I have four people employed right now. The AI number will just be the fifth number. Leave it to me on how to deploy it, right? Maybe it just answers on the weekends. Maybe it acts like an answering machine. 4 rings, and then if no human picked up, your AI answering machine picks up, right?
Yep.
And I think, for businesses, everyone that we talk to now, they have so many questions on this, right?
Yep.
And we just kind of like breach that initial hurdle and say, hey, where you can come in, and if you attend the workshop, and R is, like the first one that says, okay, my business is this, right? Let's build the AI, let's build the agent right now. Like, we show you how to do that. We provide the technology to do it. And then Ryan's, we've been doing it together for 4 months, right? And Ryan's team can come in and basically say, hey, look, you're going to have a bunch of questions. There's a process. And how do we speed that up so that, we can get an AI agent live within 48 hours that's customized to your business. And then over the course of 2 weeks, your team helps onboard, figure out what technology channels you currently use, your software, and then how to put that employee within that your process.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we do. That's that's a piece of the puzzle that a lot of people are not talking about. I mean, and I think it's because a lot of people are not. There's really not many agencies that have actually deployed a lot of agents, and we're seeing that. I mean, there's a lot of hype out there about what's possible. There's the new buzzword now is agents, and swarms. You've got swarms of agents now. So, I was just talking to S about this morning is, what are these new agents? What we're developing, or what we've developed, is a conversational agent, one that uses voice and that can have a memory, and we can connect it to a lot of different tools, apps, anything that you use, like S was talking about, that is functional to your business. It might be QuickBooks, it might be FreshBooks, it might be obviously your CRM, like Go High Level. It might be CallRail. And by connecting to all of these other tools, then the conversations become much more interesting, for me at least, and for our clients, because then we start quickly, very rapidly, actually taking away tasks and to-dos and responsibilities from the humans that can make mistakes. And a lot of people get scared by this, but I'm encouraged by it, because what it allows us to do is to have a much more efficient business, one that's more profitable and much more rewarding from my experience. And even just for us, like, we have the AI installed on our phone numbers. We've experienced just recently, like, what it's like to actually have the installation or the deployment of an agent on one of our phone numbers that we've had for years through the Go High Level platform that we use for our company. And it can be jolting. And this is why, if an agency is not using their own AI, then you might want to ask, why aren't they using their own AI? Why, how are they using their own AI?
Yep.
Because if they haven't experienced it, I wanted to experience it myself, so that I could go through the challenges that we're asking our clients to digest, in this process, so that we could see that it's necessary for us to put the AI on a new number. So we're going to buy a new number right off the bat, instead of trying to attach it to an existing number. And that's what we're going to do. And today you were actually talking about us, and I wanted to ask you, and I might as well ask you live. You were saying to deploy that new number and then forward it over to the old number,
or buy a new number and then decide when you want that new number to get forwarded to from your main number. Right? So, like, in a way, AI doesn't have to be a 0 or a 1 question, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can be, hey, I'm not sure how it's going to respond. I want to go through, a small, like a subset of the people that reach out to my business that's low stakes, that I could say wrong things and just start seeing its behavior and make it a staged rollout, which I think all businesses would be, that's the natural way you do business, right? You have
Right.
you hire a new employee. You're not going to say, hey, new employee, handle all of our clients, right?
Right.
You want to test it out in low risk situations. And so we go, okay, take your main number that you already have, and you guys use Go High Level, and say, okay, get a new telephone number, and then decide when that main number forwards to that new telephone number. Because if you're like any other business, 9 to 5, the human's there to answer. 5 to 9, nobody. And so maybe that's the correct place to put the AI in, right? When nobody's going to answer, and have your main number put in logic there to say, after 5 p.m., forward all communications to the AI number.
And this is what we're talking about when we talk about the plumbing. I mean, because if you don't have the correct plumbing, then how are you going to do this?
Right. And it takes somebody who's kind of done it a couple of times to think about it, right? Because when we ask the business, they're like, yeah, we want to do AI, and even the low stakes one is messaging leads from their LSA, right?
Yeah.
You don't know these, you don't have an existing relationship with them. Have the AI kind of do the initial contact, and they have to think through all of that, right?
Yeah.
And they have to go, oh, well, I have 2 people on staff. When should the AI pick up? Like what should that workflow be? When the AI does this, can a human jump back in? And from there, is that context provided to the AI so that it has an idea of what the other person said, right? Or what the human said? Because if you think about it, if you have an employee, one maybe an appointment setter, and the second one actually does the consultation call, right? You want them to be in communication with each other, but and then what's the handoff process? And it does force a lot of businesses to kind of think about their process, right? Which I think is great, because absent the AI deployment itself, it forces them to audit their current processes and workflow and intake. And I think they would learn a lot, to even, getting everybody in the room, the 2 employees, and say, okay, well, what's this process? Because we have to we're hiring now a 3rd employee, which is the AI employee. And then how do you guys want to handle this, right?
Yeah.
And so it does take a lot of time for businesses to even to go through this almost parallel process, one with the technology, one with internal processes. And then there's the risk tolerance piece of like, okay, well, do I want the AI, doing all of this, or do I just want, a small subset? So I think what's important is kind of, and what's challenging for a lot of businesses, you have to think about these 3 pieces without having any experience with 2 of them, right? You've never dealt with AI, and you've never had it automated, right? And so we take that out of the equation.
Yeah.
And
well, I think they never dealt with AI, and they never dealt with the plumbing. I mean, that, a lot of them, or they dealt with the plumbing, but not on this level. They never thought through the plumbing. They never had to go around the corner with copper, piping, exactly. And so, I mean, it's really forced us in a good way to really understand and internalize what the process is. So now whenever it comes up with a client, I'm just going to look at the example of me experiencing it myself and go, yeah, this is how we solved it. So I can come from a place of like, hey, I know what it's like. These are your options, because I've been through it. So this is the reason why I wanted to implement it for us first. And I like that solution, because we already have we already have a conversational AI phone number that is separate in the Go High Level platform. So we could just take the 5155 number for Accelerate, and then, like you said, after 5, have it forwarded over, to the conversational AI number, in order to give us a shot to answer it over there, maybe for 10 seconds. And then if we don't answer it, then, or maybe then it just goes right to, if it goes over to that number, maybe we can just say, okay, it's gonna start the AI immediately for voice and for text. or whatever, you know.
And the timing of this is interesting. I mean, we bring up Go High Level because we saw that last week they introduced their AI employee product, right? And the thing that I say is, like, it's good that there's platforms that are going to do this and make it part of the core offering more. But again, you're still going to have to go through the work and think through all these pieces. And then early on a product, right, there's a lot of testing that happens. And do you really want to be the first guinea pig on that? And maybe you do. But there's ways that, that there's going to be limitations on what's pre-built. You've used all those tools, right? Like a CRM, and it has these new bells and whistles that are nice, but like in deployment, it's very different. You're like in we have 20 different types of cases, and then what comes off the shelf works well for half of them. Well, what about the other half, right? Am I going to have to wait until the platform develops out this feature to address the other half? And maybe for people that's palatable, right? And for others who go, look, I have a very clear process, and I want the AI to be taking up as much of, or handling as much as the communication as possible. Is it possible with the off-the-shelf product? It's still early. And Ryan and I had long conversations about this where I'm like, this is actually fantastic. That if, with the offering with your current CRM, you could just add these without thinking about, where does this pipe go into this, right? And they can take care of a lot of that. Then we can come in with that customization and say, okay, well, that handled 50% of your cases. Like, now the other 50%, let's talk through how you want to do that, right? So it actually makes our job a lot easier because, with it. So I kind of say, like, you have different levels of intelligence than AI has. And if you have an AI agent that can pick up the phone, answer general questions, collect information, right, and then notify the team, it's almost like you hired an AI virtual receptionist, right? But as that receptionist works, you're gonna give it more responsibility. You're gonna say, hey, look, I don't want you just relaying this message to this person in the team. I want you to answer things about pricing, right? And is the platform that you're on capable of that? Because a lot of these platforms, basically, they call them wrappers on ChatGPT, which is, I just take this information, I shoot it over to ChatGPT, it comes back with a message that makes sense, and you could put in information on there, but like, not all the information an employee that's been working at your company has for years, right? Like, so you're going to run into a situation where, okay, you want to give this AI receptionist more responsibilities, but the technology limitations are keeping me from giving it instruction manuals, past conversations. I wanted to get, all the conversations from 2023, right? You're going to hit limitations on that so that your AI employee doesn't get smarter. And then you're going to restart that whole process you just did on the platform that was designed to do that. And so it's almost like, do you want to, when you build on this, you have to think a little more long-term. Do I have the right infrastructure in place to almost promote this employee, or are they always going to be stuck being a receptionist? And look, maybe we're at the stage where a lot of companies, that's good enough, right? But that's why we want to work closely with you, because with us, you can do a lot more, and that's the proper way to build.
Well, you can do I think what you're saying is that you can do a lot from the beginning. Like, you can literally train it. It's not handicapped, meaning like our version is not handicapped. It doesn't have a lid in terms of the amount of knowledge that it can gain about your business and the communication level that you want it to have, and the specificity and the preciseness that you want it to have about your business and how you want it to respond. With some of these other platforms, with our platform, it's completely expandable. So I think what you're saying is that some of these other platforms are not expandable, and so you're gonna run into that lid, and then your competitors might be using a platform that is expandable, and now they're way ahead of you, and you've got to catch up for all the years that you've not been training.
Yeah. Yeah. And, think of it as an analogy with website builders, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can get, you can build a website with Squarespace, Shopify, because it has these prepackaged tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you might grow beyond there where you need a database, where you need to connect it with a CRM, and you don't want to be sitting in a position where like it's capping your growth, and you're going to grow out of, what Shopify could provide at some point. And when you do you want to go, you're going to want it custom at some point.
Yeah.
And when you do you want to restart that whole process again?
Yeah.
Right? You want to lose all the work that you did because you were caged into this platform.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think that having a platform that is expandable, that does have, for example, a knowledge base that you can that you can give it, is going to be the way to start, because otherwise you're just using the equivalent, a more modern version of what we've used for years, which is chatbots. The old bots that you have to program it, every response that it has or that you want it to have, or else it doesn't know what to say. And yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, to see how many additional features that you can add to the agent, in order to make it so that it actually performs to do the things that you want it to do. I mean, you've got a lot of use cases where you've expanded the utilization, through different businesses that you've worked with, where you're pulling data, from other sources, and in order to get more done for the business. And there's so many different opportunities for business owners. So what I like to say is, if you're currently doing something repetitive as a business owner, I would jot that thing that you're doing that's repetitive down, and figure out how you can create an agent that can actually do that thing, and figure all the things out that you're doing. I mean, we're doing this right now with our software. I mean, and you're motivating a lot of it is just, because, it's like we can build the software and make it better, but or we can make it so that it's easier for people to access, both in terms of like the onboarding, for example, and those are things that have been done just on, like, for example, Go High Level platforms, in the past. Now you can do that outside of Go High Level. You can create that automation, by leveraging these LLMs, and the cost of doing it is rapidly approaching zero. I mean, literally, like, it's really rapidly, especially with, Llama coming out. We were talking about this morning, which is Facebook's entry into this space, and Google's AI coming out, and Apple's AI that's now going to be attached to the phone that I'm going to upgrade to now. It's like automatically built into it. And obviously with the others out there. So yeah, I really, yeah, I think that what we're doing can save business owners a lot of time, energy, and effort. Not only now, because we've got an onboarding process that, and this is the same thing with our LSA platform. I always like to tell our clients, it's not what we're going to do to help you optimize your local service ads. It's what we're going to do to help you not harm it, so that you lose lead volume. It's more just maintaining what you have that's important. I get so many calls from business owners that just lose their LSA traction altogether, where their leads are just gone. They go to zero. And no one wants to be at that point, because when you're there, it's hard to get it started again. And and it's the same way with AI. It really is. And I can't imagine, honestly, I really can't imagine a digital marketing agency in the future that doesn't incorporate AI in what they do. I mean, from search engine optimization to content creation to content editing to every aspect to just automating their business, their onboarding process. I mean, there are so many things that can be automated, and where AI can be used to leverage.
And there's one agency that we're working with that go, okay, well, even the human intake team, right? I have no systems for figuring out how well the human intake team does.
Mhm.
And could we be using AI to actually give us those analytics so that we have, definable, like, hard data that you can point to the business saying that you have a problem in intake right now, right?
Mhm.
And I think, it's like a side benefit of the AI is having this now be a technology, like, data driven approach to business,
Yep.
and say, okay, this AI can do a lot of things, but I need to be able to, walk before I run. And if switching over to AI handle conversations versus just humans, if that just means additional visibility, that's enough for me, right?
Yep.
Because we've had a dream for years that we would be able to provide this as a product to our clients, but we couldn't because it was a manual process,
Yeah.
right? And now we have an automated process that where the AI will take on more and more of those calls. And I always say that, like, when we had our first AI kind of answering, leads on our website, my
Yeah.
morning coffee was reading the transcripts.
Yeah.
That alone for a business owner is a ton of visibility. I'd have 25 pages with, like, 30 conversations in there, and I could read it in 10 minutes and know exactly, how potential leads are interacting with my business, the questions that they have, and that helped me build product.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's another point is, some people think that the AI needs to be perfect, and whenever the word perfect is used, whether with anything really, I I cringe because I like there's I told you this, and I know it's like there's no such thing as a perfect person. There's no such thing as a perfect AI, and the only way that we get closer and faster to perfection, if there is such a thing, is to turn it on, is to let it make mistakes, so that we can learn from them and we can learn those outlier, those fringe cases, uh, in order to correct for them. And so, a lot of clients, this is why we have, in our onboarding process, we have a kickoff meeting where we, we deliver, we we do our best to actually deliver the text prompt or the text agent and actually put it on there. And by the way, if you have any questions, you can please put them down below. I mean, we'll answer any questions you have. But we try to get the text to go live with the prompt for the kickoff meeting. We have another meeting about a week, a week later, 7 days later. That is the go live meeting, and we give 3 edits in between that kickoff and go live for the voice. We try to get that text to go live on that first call, because we really want to we want to get the best results from local service ads, because we know that if we get that phone number in the texting section and the AI is responding to message leads, we know that business owner is going to get a lot more leads and they're going to be really happy. And then also because we just want to iterate, we want to, and AI's texting for AI is easy. I mean, you don't have all the voice challenges.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, what's interesting though is that now with OpenAI, like the advanced voice feature is great. Now it's been out about a month and a half, and most people have experienced it. But if you haven't, definitely go and have a conversation with it. I mean, the latency is much better. It doesn't interrupt as much. The only thing is the voice sounds a little bit robotic, but I'm not concerned about that. I'm just concerned. I mean, I'm okay with people knowing that it's an agent. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
we don't really try to hide it. We let people know that it's an agent that's talking and that's communicating. And so anyway, we're just, encouraging our businesses that we work with to launch the AI as soon as possible so that we can begin that learning process, with the agent. You know?
And actually, the quicker that they do that, as soon as they see it live, the gears start turning, and a lot of the conversations are like, okay, I have buddies in the industry, that use this too. What's the ability to white label this?
Yeah.
Right? And that gets into really interesting discussions, because if you're early to something and you're the adopter and the beneficiary of something, and the world is going here, like there's an incentive system for you to bring this on to non-competitive businesses.
Yep.
Right? And we'll work with you on that. Every interaction is different. How you onboard somebody, in one vertical might not be how you do it in another. Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of the work that we end up doing is on iterating on what that interaction and behavior is. That now if you establish a good benchmark, like, yes, we can take this and deploy it elsewhere with you as a partner.
Yeah. And what, yeah, for sure. I mean, we white label it. We're working with other businesses that do what we do as digital marketing agencies, and give them the technology so that they can bring it to them. And we even give them our onboarding process that we have painstakingly, with blood, sweat, and tears, developed, through daily meetings. Like we just, S and I were just on a call with our team that we have daily to go through our clients and find out what's going on with them. How are they doing? Give us updates. When's their next meeting? Are they live yet? When are they going to go live? And
it's also important to note.
It's like setting the proper expectations for the client to make sure that they know that, okay, a week after the kickoff meeting, we are going to go live, and you're going to have 3 edits, so be ready. And we start with our clients. One last thing is, we start with our clients with voice and messaging, because that's like the most powerful thing that we can do with AI. And then, like S said, we then start figuring out, okay, what else can we do? Can we actually track the KPIs? Can we identify what percentage of calls actually converted into new clients for us by having the AI go into their CRM and fish out that information and then connect it to where the call came in from, and was it AI that answered initially, or was it a human? And then comparing the percentages. Is the human answered initially converting higher, or is the AI answering initially converting higher? Or even if it's close, then you've got an argument for actually having the AI potentially answering all the phone calls. Which is what a lot of our clients end up doing. And then once we I think that's the next logical phase of using AI, artificial intelligence, is in measuring the KPI so that we can prove value through the initial utilization of the AI, which is conversational AI for voice and text. After we measure the KPIs every which way that we want to, then we go to, okay, now what? Now we can do like customer service. We create another phone number for customer service. That's a different agent altogether, with a different prompt.
And I also would add on just the edits piece, right? It's what's needed is the client's ability to edit that too afterwards. And so the reason both Ryan and I built out our platforms through tech is, we go, as a business owner, when you're laying in bed reading the transcripts for the day and you say, hey, I want to make this change, right? You can log right into the platform and change that prompt yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We will include 3 right? Because otherwise it's a nonstop process training your employee,
Mhm.
right? But then afterwards, we give you the tools that you can train them, and that's the proper way to do it, right? Like we can bring this employee up, train them up so that they can answer these calls and and messages the way your human employee will. But going forward, you're going to need to be the one up leveling their abilities,
Yeah.
right? And if you have the tools to do it, if we give you the tools to do it, then that's a much faster process. And
Yeah.
it's actually a process that we can't even do. You as business owners, the subject matter expert, your AI had a conversation with the client where the conversation went off rails, right? We're not qualified to answer that for you, but you are. And there's no reason to kind of dream up these edge cases beforehand. That's just impractical,
Yeah.
right? So get your AI live, make it have conversations. Let's look at the last 100, and then just go back and say, hey, on that one, I want to edit it. It should have gone this way, and you could be doing this in bed at
Yeah.
night. You can't be doing that with an employee. You're just like, hey, I listened to your conversation today, 20
Yep.
minutes in, and you said this thing.
Yep.
Like, I would like you to say this thing. And the amount of time it took you to do that, you could have just been doing it while you read the transcript
Yeah.
and said, oh, yeah, that thing.
Yeah. You could
You
just be
know,
fixing it. You could go right in and, both your software and our software, allows people to edit the prompt. You've got that. Are you saying to edit it with the thumbs up, thumbs down, fine tuning, or the
so, yeah, so I'm glad you asked, because this is often a question that like people just don't know. Like we've I've personally built hundreds of agents, right? So I'm familiar with what kind of behavior I can change in the prompt, or what kind of behavior needs to be done by what they call uh, reinforcement learning from human feedback. So RLHF.
Mhm.
And that is when you go back into the conversation. So, okay. So the way to think about it is the prompt is like that little pep talk that you give your employee, you're a representative of this law firm, ask me these questions, right? That's kind of the pep talk that goes with every AI response. But when you look at the transcript, you said this thing wrong, or this information that you give isn't exactly right. Let me fix that, right? That's almost like the post-mortem. This is when you talk to your AI employee afterwards and said, hey, on that thing, you answered it wrong. I would answer it like this, right? So it's a different training process. One is upfront. I'm going to give you instructions. One
Yep.
is you're going to have the conversation. I'm going to give you feedback, right? And so if you think about training an employee, that's there's different methods, right? There's some that
Yep.
throws an employee off the deep end and says like, okay, I'm just going to give you feedback afterwards. And then there's some that go, hey, we have an extensive training period, before you can start, doing the
Yep.
task.
Yep.
Um, so, we provide them the range of abilities to do that. And what people don't know is the way I do it, right? When we build it for clients, I'll build out a prompt and then I'm going to test it, right? 20 times and have 20 conversations with it.
Mhm.
And then for 19 of them, because it's kind of like general instruction things, when I make the change, I go back into the prompt. Oh, you were saying or I apologize a lot, right? Don't apologize. Don't say before this.
Yep.
Oh, you said something about, answer the question that was completely unrelated to the business. I go back and say, do not answer any questions about this,
Yep.
And so that kind of training process, takes time, but I just know that within the prompt, you can do 80% of the things that a small business might want, right? They may never have to go in to give the feedback, but
Yeah.
that mechanism there is an added ability.
Yeah.
So I always go modify the prompt first. It'll handle 90% of what you need to. And then after you tested it sufficiently and back? Am I live?
Yeah. Yep. I am. Yep.
So yeah, so I'm glad you asked that question. Is they're just different training processes.
Yeah,
And
I think what you're saying is that the reinforcement learning is like the pep the reinforcement learning is the post mortem. It's like the feedback session, and and then the the prompt is the pep talk ahead of time. And I agree, it's like 80% of what needs to be handled could probably just be handled with the with the pep talk ahead of time.
yeah.
And it is nice to have that postmortem, like after the fact, that reinforcement learning as well. Both is really good.
And then
And
there's the other piece, right? Okay, now
yeah.
think of this as a employee preparing for an interview or a discussion with the client, right?
Uh-huh.
And you might say, well, I have all this information, company manuals, right? Or what we can and cannot do, right? That's training material. That's what we call the knowledge base. And you can
Right.
upload a knowledge base if you have a file, or it can scrape a website. And you should think of that as not the pep talk, not the feedback, but as the reading material before you go into the conversation, right? Within the prompt will dictate, here's the instructions. You're going to have a conversation with this person, right?
Yep.
But then, um, but then before that, you would have said, hey, here's reference material. Here's 100 documents that you should have read beforehand in preparation of this, that
Yeah.
you won't draw in this conversation if it never comes up, right? But you would have read it and known what the answer if somebody asks you what are your hours, what's your telephone number, what's the protocol for refunds, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't make sense to put that in the pep talk and iterate all our refund policy is this, it makes more sense for them to be able to draw on that knowledge, having read it before, to come up if that comes up in conversation. And the problem with putting all of this in the prompt, and prompt windows are getting bigger and bigger, right? That you can put 200 pages in there. But look, are you going to put 200 pages of this reading material as the pep talk to the AI before it responds to anything? It makes no sense to have your refund policy in there if it never comes up.
Right.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just going through that every single time.
Everything that it says, it has to go through that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting. I mean, it's, I find myself, using, like having, I like having a natural conversation, with the AI and having a back and forth. And, that really has changed everything. And I think anytime that a business owner experiences that, and they experience it for their business, it's it's definitely a light bulb moment, because they can see the how that pep talk, the prompt, and then the reinforcement learning, the after the call, update, can really yield amazing results long term for their business. Because just going through that iteration process, and then, by the way, combining with it the knowledge base, which is the baseline fundamental information. Now, would you add that document that you were talking about? That would be part of the knowledge base.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so when we build for somebody, frequently we don't, for if it's like a Main Street type business, right? We don't really need to draw on the knowledge base,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because a lot of time they're just doing information collecting, that initial 10-minute call when a lead, reaches out to the business.
Mhm.
But it's good to know that that's a possibility for people, because there's some businesses, hey, they might have written a bunch of blog posts about this, right?
Mhm.
And for law firms, different types of accidents that people might reach out for, right? There's different information on that. And to the extent that you have it on your website, it could be scraped. Here's the reading material before you have this call with a potential, personal injury client, is read what typically happens in these right?
Mm.
And so we were that much more informed when they ask, hey, by the way, before you collect my whatever, like, tell me about what the typical process for this, how many of these cases go forward. And if these are things that you have materials for, and by the way, you could even train it on somebody else's materials, right? So if you're a law firm that didn't have this information,
Wow.
okay, grab somebody else's site that you saw that was really good on this type of lead, right? Take that and put it into the knowledge base.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's super powerful because, and I like the analogy you use. It's like, here's the reading material before you have the conversation so that you, in essence, you're prepared for it. It's like your dossier of information that's not referenced every single time. It's not like the pep talk, in between every response.
Yep.
It's, which is the prompt. It's the basic knowledge that the agent pulls from. That's just foundational. It's just there all the time.
Yep.
And that's, that's very powerful because a lot of agencies if they have an agent that can be connected to one phone number for both texting and messaging, that's usually a rare thing. I mean, most agencies, you cannot put both voice and text on one phone number. And so that's another thing to look out for if you're looking to set up an AI or, like an agent for your business, a conversational agent for your business, because it makes it much easier if you just got one phone number for all of your conversational needs.
Yep. And we do and a lot of them are inbound now, right? But we started to see clients go, hey, marketing campaigns, cold leads, all these people that called in over the years, right?
Yeah.
All right. You want to do outbound and check in on them?
Yeah.
Okay, with everybody in the last month, that called us but didn't end up becoming a client. Is there some communication that could be outbound text or call to rewarm that, right? Or check in and just say, hey, look, did you ever find a personal injury lawyer? Did you ever go forward with that case? Because hey, let me bump this to the top of the conversation list.
Yeah, and to have a meaningful conversation with people, is pretty powerful. It's really powerful. I mean, it's like, instead of just sending them to a landing page that's static, you can really lead the conversation with the artificial intelligence. I mean, and that conversation can happen the same way every time. So it's objective instead of subjective, which is pretty cool. So if you guys have any comments, we're approaching the end of the hour here. So, if you watch the replay of this, then just put your comments below so that we can answer them on the next call. We are going to have a webinar, and I just want to double check the date and time. I think it's Wednesday at I think it's Wednesday at 1, actually.
It's 1:30.
1:30. Is it Wednesday?
Wednesday. Yep.
Yeah. So we really, look forward to, anybody joining to that, that can. We're going to have a workshop, and, we're just going to do it the way that we've been doing this. And if people show up, I just want to get at least like one or two businesses on and just like continue the process, like just, to get people something that they can walk away with, like to show how easy it is to set up an agent and deploy it so that you can make your life easier and make more money as a business owner in like less than 20 minutes. So anything else any other points you want to make? Yes?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Yeah. And then you can text us at 619-304-5155. Let me just go, and you can put that. You can text us there, 619-304-5155. And thanks, Est. And
Thanks, Ryan.
great conversation. We'll talk to you later.